I'm going to officially call this meeting to order. Thanks all for being here, kicking off the year off strong. Everyone, Nia should be here any minute. But yeah, have everyone. Man, this is like not how our usual January meetings go.
I know. Especially with the weather.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Is this anyone's like first time out in a couple days? This is my first time leaving the house in like 5 days. So.
-3 tonight.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Drip those faucets. Okay, well let's get into the minutes and the financials. So first, approval of the minutes. So the minutes have been distributed and read. Are there any noted corrections for the December 2024 minutes? Okay. Great. So I'm going to go ahead and motion to approve the minutes. Can I please get a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed, say nay. All right. The minutes are approved. A quick question, Karen. Are you okay? Will this meeting be your final?
This is my final meeting.
Final meeting.
And I can do the minutes.
Okay,
So,
great. All right. So
I
far,
promise I will do the minutes.
yeah. So far you're batting 1,000. So so gotta keep that streak alive.
I met with our liaison to City Council's office earlier today, and she complimented your minutes. She was like, "Wow, your minutes are so great!" Like,
Put that in the
Making
minutes.
them
Yeah.
from the videos.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah, then you can really interact, whoever's going to take this on, you can interact in the meeting, and then, you still
Yeah,
have
you're not-
the record of it, so it's really good.
All right. All right. Well, yeah. Thanks so much, Karen. Okay. Minutes are approved. Let's look at December 2024 financials and January 2025 financials.
So I just want to share a little bit about where we landed at the end of 24 after our grant cycles, our artist workshops, and our community art grants. So we had a total of $141,017 allocated for our 3 grant cycles in 2024. We spent all but $6,000 for that. Go us. We budgeted $5,000 for our artist workshop series. Again, thanks as always to Chaz and Christina for organizing some fantastic workshops in fall. In all, we spent $1,750 on the 2 workshops that we had in fall 24. And then at Chaz's genius suggestion, we went ahead and encumbered funds to pay for artists and other professionals to do the workshops that we have scheduled for the beginning of 2025. So in all, we spent $3,750 of that $5,000 budget. I think that's a great first year. And then for our public art grants, we ended up spending $6,000 of the $16,500 allotted for our public art, community art grant cycle, which is still a thing we are learning and refining. And so we had $10,500 left in that pot. And so I want to say a few things about that money left over. That is fine. This is not going to impact what money council may give or not give us in future years. Basically what happens is this money just went back into the general fund, and I was also able to use some of this stuff, some of these funds to pay for like other end of year arts expenses. So that's generally what happens with that kind of funds. And I'm going to stop there before I go to 25 to answer any questions you have about 24.
So we gave back about 17, 18.
Correct, yeah.
We could do better.
Yeah.
I agree, and I have some thoughts, because for 25, no, we have more money. I'm just gonna close this. Am I gonna close this? No, this is, we wanna look at that, sorry. Okay, we have more money. So council gave us an extra $25,000 to spend on our 3 grant cycles this year. So that means that we're up from $75,000 in that top fund. If you look at line 5, the 2024, I didn't change the dates to 25, sorry. So we got $75,000 for our general fund grant allotment from them last year, and they gave us an extra $25K there. That means that in total to spend on those 3 grant cycles this year, we have 167,537 to spend. It's gonna be okay. So what I am thinking is, one thing that we did last year is we capped the emerging artist grants at $1,000 each, and we also actually reduced the amount of funds that we could give for our arts project grants and our operations grants. So I'm going to propose, and we'll solidify this more with the grant subcommittee, just ramping those numbers back up, because what I would like to see is the same amount of applicants and the same amount of awards, but just getting more money. And I think especially with the emerging artists, which we're now calling the artistic advancement cycle, raising that amount of money, the award amount by that much will just kind of increase the caliber of folks who are applying, because I think that $2,000 will just give folks more incentive to want to take the time to fill out the application.
That's a nice, for sure.
That's a
Nice
nice
award.
Yeah. And then I think just kind of in saying that we're still honing that public art grant cycle, I'm hoping we can be strategic about how we get more funds out for that this year. And then I trust that Chaz and Christina will spend that $5,000 real quick. So that's where we are for 25 at the very beginning, and happy to answer any questions about that. Okay. Thank you.
All right, excellent. Okay, back to you, Holly, for some exciting city updates.
Okay, I have one incredibly exciting update. One thing that the Economic and Sustainable Department did, that's the department Chaz and I are both in, at the end of last year was some little restructuring. And as part of that restructuring, our director decided to put Chaz as a direct report to me. And so this means that Chaz is now officially doing arts things. Up to this point in time, in her role as special projects manager, she's just kind of been at the whims of what folks need, be it for sustainability, small business, a big old tech center that got built for $12.8 million. But I know for me and Chaz, like, her true talent and skill and ability lies in the arts, and so now it is much more official that Chaz is going to be our arts person in ESD.
Great.
And she'll also be spending much more of her time. It was like roughly like 50-60% up to this point in time, but going forward it'll be closer to 80%, and we have some designs in the work to maybe one day push that up to 100. So it's always been an honor to work with Chaz, and I'm just really excited to continue working with her. Bloomington is lucky to have her.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
yeah.
Is there anyone going to succeed her in the other areas?
No.
You'll have to change your phone number.
Actually, we have a capital projects manager that's going to start in February, and they would have, if their role had existed, they would have done the tech center and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I'm not fully artsy yet. I still have a couple of projects that I have to kind of finish up and maybe never touch them again. But yeah, it was kind of a surprise. We had no idea it was going to happen. That's what we had wanted before.
Yeah.
And then it didn't look likely, and then all of a sudden, there we go. So
More respect for the arts.
Great.
Yes.
yeah, it is. Yeah, it really is. So it's exciting. But yeah, thanks guys. I'm excited to do more for the BAC.
The two other things I'll share is that, so I generally try to reserve January for a planning month, and that's what I'm doing. So Chaz and I are just going to be spending this month really thinking through the year and just trying to structure our grant cycles, all of our public art projects for the year in a way that makes us not lose our mind. We'll be working in that on this month, and then we'll just kick everything off in February. And we'll be sharing more details about specific plans for public arts and grants and subcommittee meetings, and then the information will be shared back here. The other thing I want to share is, we now have an individual in the Office of City Council who has been here for about 3 years, but has historically just worked with City Council. And now she is in a role where she's acting more as a liaison between City Council and all the boards and commissions in the city. And I think that she has identified some weak spots where, and I think we've talked about this a little in the past too, there's not really a direct line of communication between boards like ours and the council members. In the past, a council member was actually assigned to be on every boards and commission. That went away right around the time I was coming into this position, but they're now thinking about bringing that back. So this woman is just very committed to just thinking about how we can have more direct connections with our council. I don't think we know. Oh, and there she is. Hey, Jen. Yeah. So this is Jen Crossley. She works in the city council. I was just sharing that you have just identified some weak spots for lack of communication between what we're doing and council members knowing it, and you've got some great ideas about how we can be more transparent and how we can potentially even get some council members in our meeting. Yeah, but take it away, please.
Yeah. So hello.
Yeah.
Jennifer Crossley, and so I have a new role in the clerk's office. I'm the deputy clerk for communications and outreach, and so my role is to better streamline the process and communication between liaisons and boards and commissions and council office and mayoral office. So I have a big role. This is like the inaugural role that the council created. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm learning as I'm going, and I've been meeting with liaisons. I met with Holly earlier today, and my goal is to really streamline the communication between what you all are doing, and it sounds like y'all are doing a lot. I know I get Chaz's newsletters often, and I read them, and it's really, really cool, especially all the stuff that you're doing, and talking to Holly. And my biggest thing that I really want to do is that the council and mayoral have appointments. Some of you all are mayoral seat appointments, some of you all are council appointed seats. And I think it would be a really good idea for liaisons from the council to serve for for commissions. Just so that they can have a better understanding of what it is that y'all are doing, what are you trying to do, like your goals. So when there is a conversation that's happening in council, they know what you're doing. They can attest to that. I know in interviewing and being in the interview committees with some of you all, one of the biggest things that I was slightly embarrassed about is when you probably interviewed and you might have asked the question to council, hey, tell me more a little bit about the Arts Commission, tell me a little bit more. And you might have got the feedback of, well, we just interviewed, we don't really know much about that. I'd like to change that because people should, and it just makes better way of, and it just makes you feel like you want to be a part of this more, and what you're getting yourself into. And so that is something that I'll bring up tonight. At the meeting is I'm really going to push for them to serve as liaisons. Not to say that they need to come to every single meeting, but just really know what's happening and maybe to attend one of the meetings. So I'm here just to kind of listen. I'm popping in here. I'm also going upstairs to another board and commission meeting, and then at 6:30 I run down to council chambers and I will be there too. So much fun. But I appreciate y'all allow me to sit in and listen, and I'm willing to learn, and if any suggestions that y'all have for me to pass along, I will be more than happy to take those up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Cool. Yeah. Yay. We're so excited. Yeah, I know. Perfect timing. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Okay, that's all I've got.
Thanks, Jen.
Yeah.
Cool. So any more from the city or?
Nope.
Great. Okay. Cool. Well, moving on to agenda item number 4, an update from the Public Arts Subcommittee.
Happy New Year, everyone. We've got a really exciting public art year ahead. I will say that I don't have too many updates to share right now. I think I shared most of our things at the last meeting. There has obviously been much movement between then and now. The community public art master plan grants, I believe, are all out the door at this point. Mostly, mostly there. We've got one person who's looking for some feedback, so I just emailed you, Holly, about that. Happy to meet with them. They're just looking for some feedback as to why their project wasn't funded, which, we've talked about that in our meetings too, so we will keep looking at how to revamp that specific grant and what we want to do with that in the new year. So we'll probably talk about that at our upcoming meeting. We're just looking ahead to the Gateway and the fire station and some of the Hopewell and some other things that are being that are in the process of looking for artists, and then the ones that are already in motion and are going to happen this year. But I'll have more updates at our next meeting for everyone. I think that's all, unless anyone has any questions. No? Cool.
Thank you.
Oh, I do. Do we have a meeting this Friday?
We do not have a meeting this Friday.
Okay.
At least it's not on
Yeah,
my
it's not on mine.
schedule.
Okay. I think I might just have an old calendar thing on my work calendar.
Okay.
When is the next?
That's a good question.
Okay.
Oops.
All right.
Let me connect
Let's
with
go.
Holly.
Yeah, let's.
It looks like I think the
yeah.
thing might have just expired and didn't
Yeah,
show up on
That's
the.
my fault, sorry.
No,
Okay.
you're fine. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll be in touch with the subcommittee.
You guys will send out an invite?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't. The last year I had this past end of last year, I had a conflict with the class. I was kind of making that time weird, but I don't have a class on Fridays anymore, so that should
Yeah,
be
the more we can
good.
regularize it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Will they still be Zoom meetings or?
We have to make them on, we have to start following open door policy.
Because we're
Yeah.
supposed to get weather again on Friday.
Yeah.
I think,
Just-
I'm cool to not do it this Friday.
Okay.
And maybe just reassess with the committee.
Yeah,
when
that
we
sounds
want
good.
it.
Cool. Yeah, so we'll
Yeah.
be in contact about in person, moving them in person, and then the time, which I think will be similar to what we did before, which was I think second Friday,
Yeah.
12:15, something
Yeah.
like that. So that should be expected, but we're just gonna be in person. Good point though, Gerard.
Yeah. Thanks, Nat. Okay. Any questions or other comments with regard to public art and the like? Okay. Excellent. Well, for her final potentially final update from the grants subcommittee.
Yeah. So what is there to say? Well, there's a lot more money this year, apparently. So good luck with that. I obviously. So I'm still serving in a kind of interim capacity until we sort out the leadership of this committee. So I will be having our sort of semi-regular meeting on the 17th at noon this month. Typically, sometimes we skip those meetings because we have a lot of grant review sessions to do, but I'd like to convene the group. What of the group can make it on the 17th at noon here to discuss just kind of a recap of last year, takeaways, learning things. I want to just absorb any observations from the group about this past year and what we can improve and just the processes overall. And if you are interested in the role, it's available. I have sent out the materials, a description of it, but I can meet with anyone individually and talk you all through that. But hope to see everyone in grants on the 17th at noon. I'll send out a reminder about that in a couple days. Yeah, and what's that? Oh, this is cool. Yeah. We're getting reports back from, we did eventually reinstate the sort of reports process for grants that we had dropped during COVID. And these reports are typically just sort of how did you spend the money, et cetera, what did you do? And we received this really interesting one from a comics artist, Kate Young, who sent us this as her report, and it was really cool. I really love it.
Mm.
And she allowed us to share it, and I think it's a really good reflection of, I mean, it was called the Emerging Artist Grant at that time, Artistic Advancement Grant now, and I just sort of enjoyed the relationship between the artistic practice and the report. I think it's really compelling and really unique. There are no rules against doing that. And it's effective, actually, really effective. And I think it also captures some of the kind of spirit of this grant and the different ways that you can use it. This person spent their time in a sort of self-imposed retreat, and sounds like they got some work done, and also, you know, confronted the usual kind of writer's block and anxiety some of us get when all of a sudden faced with free time and resources. So just a lovely sample of some of the work we're doing. Yeah.
All right.
That's all.
Great. Any questions for grants folks about grants? Okay, excellent. Well, yeah, looking forward to the meeting next Friday.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, a couple of things here from me, moving on to agenda item number 6. Just as a reminder, I've been bringing this up at the last couple of meetings, but yes, the grants subcommittee chair position is going to be open effective February, and as is the secretary position, with Karen ending her 2 terms. Yeah, please reach out if anyone is interested in taking either of those positions. Second point, BAC applicants. It sounds like Holly and I have gotten a few. And so,
It's going to be difficult.
okay. Yeah, so I believe this is for a mayoral appointment. So yeah. Mayor Thompson's going to have, I think it sounds like some good applications to choose from, which is exciting. Okay, and then item C I have from your chair is a little bit longer, kind of a broad but casual, but still substantive discussion on kind of like priorities and other items, like looking ahead to the year. This is typically how we start the calendar year at the January meeting, just a kind of informal talk about what sorts of things we'd like to prioritize, discussion topics and presenters to consider for the upcoming meetings, and then just also like events or things that we should be aware of, either recurring events or things unique to this particular year. So I'm going to go ahead and kick things off with saying that I think a priority for this year would be to make sure all or very near all of the money gets out the door for the grants and for the public art master plan grants. So I have that down on my notes for this year. And I would love to hear more thoughts from the group.
I think we're getting iteratively more refined calls and announcements, but there's still, I think, a way to go with them. So even when we were evaluating applications, it's what was their criteria, and I think the more we can hone that, the more we will get better and more appropriate submissions. So I don't know if we should, make that a focus of a session for each part, or the 2 groups meet and refine some things and bring it back to the main session, or 2 subcommittees or something, that we're actually aggressively working on it, and then it'll be there.
Yeah, inclusivity, priority. Yeah. But we did so good last year. Not to pat ourselves on the back, but I'm just like, I feel like if we keep up the pace with just the refined, you know what I mean. It's like, it's people will respond well to that. Have responded well to that.
I think along Rob's lines, trying, at least in the public art front, trying to come up with better or maybe more refined ways to have community feedback implemented within our calls and within our just everything that we do maybe on the public art front. So that is something that I would really like to look into refining this year. and also just some more like activation ideas around the things that we have coming up. I would love to think about that more in our public art meetings, especially since we have a lot of pieces that are going to come into reality in the next few months. So figuring out how to get people aware of them and then also keeping them in the zeitgeist for a minute after that would be great too.
Well, it seems like awareness is really the question, because, I mean, there was a really good feedback process on those three, on the proposals for the,
Hopo.
thank you. So that worked fine, I thought, but maybe people didn't know about it and they didn't know. How many responses did you get?
For the Hopewell one?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was, yeah, a couple hundred.
Well, that's pretty good. I mean,
more than that?
Oh, wait, for the applications?
Oh,
or
for the
feedback?
I think for the public feedback, correct?
Yeah.
Oh,
Public
yeah, oh my
feedback.
God, we got almost 500.
yeah, see,
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a problem.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think, well, I think it's not I like how much engagement we got. Some of the quality of the engagement. Figuring out how to make it a little more, where the answers aren't just like, hate this. Like, like making it something that,
I think you're always gonna get that though.
That's
Oh,
true.
yeah.
I mean,
And if ours doesn't, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
right? Like,
if we make it really, really easy for people to do it, you'll get more of those, I think.
Yeah.
So how do you strike that balance, you know?
Yeah, that's fair. And maybe thinking about the protocol for like the type of work, because I think that works really well in some of the public art things that we have, and then in some we're like, okay, maybe this does require a little more outreach or more specific type of outreach. So yeah, thinking through what we want to see for each of those is great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
So I'd like to raise some suggestions, but first I wanted to ask, as background, the two focuses on public art and on artist grants, are those in our charge? That is that all we're charged to do? Or is that are those the mechanisms that we're pursuing?
They're not in our bylaws. So there is nothing that says in our bylaws that we have to, or the ordinance, let me call it an ordinance, the legal thing. There is nothing that legally says we have to have subcommittees that are focused on this and this. And that is deliberate, so we don't lock ourselves in, so we can evolve as the needs of our community evolve. I think Elliot, Karen, and I are probably been here the longest, and Chaz, you've just always watched the meetings. I feel like for me, it's just like, when I came in, that's just the way it was.
I do think that somewhere, we're not like stuck on that, but that is the focus areas they wanted the BAC to do. So yes, also.
That's where the money is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is somewhere in our thing that it does outline focuses being public art and grants, for
So-
sure.
I'm sorry, you done?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. So it seems to me that there are a couple areas, at least, that we could be doing things that aren't really attended to, I think, as much as at least I would like to see. And the first is diversity. There just isn't much diversity in what the kinds of things we're doing, the kinds of people we're engaging with, and so on. And I don't know whether to make that a separate area or to somehow emphasize it within the structure that we have. But boy, the city's a lot more diverse than the kinds of projects that we're supporting. The other is children, by which I mean children right up through high school. That it's amazing to me that there seems to be almost nothing for kids. The things that are available are great, right? But there's not much. You know, as I look around for things, well, I've got a 10-year-old grandson, I look around for things that might be suitable to him. There's just not that much. And some of what is there is already being done by other groups. So it's not as if we're out there and fostering it. It's that they've embraced it themselves, which is great. But I think those two areas are really deserving more attention. Third, if I may, it seems to me that somehow it seems as though there's a certain area in the city that is most engaged in the things that are going on, and there are other areas that aren't, and I have no idea how to bring art or cultivate art or recognize the art in these various areas. But that seems to me also to be a kind of limitation. Now, I'm not suggesting that these things should all suddenly become projects for this coming year, but I think it would be great for this year for us to start to talk about those things and maybe activate a little bit at least. And I'm not sure how to do that, but that's my thought of the year. Expanding what we're doing, growing what we're doing, embracing more of the cities and its citizens.
Seems to me that supporting organizations through funding, grants, in those areas, I think is one thing we do. Perhaps it could be getting the word out to a wider variety of people about what's available in terms of funding or assistance in some way might be a good way to start.
Or just
Yeah,
ourselves
I
going
think-
out and talking, just
Yeah.
ourselves going out and talking to
Yeah, I
people.
think if we were trying to do it all ourselves, it would be too ambitious, because there are people out there that are doing that, but we could support them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm like, I feel like I used to talk more about outreach and then I got like too busy to like care as much. But I'm like, that is kind of the key to like the diversity issue. Is like we really just need to like spread the word far and wide if we want to actually do that. And that just takes a lot of work. And I will say I've slacked in that as someone in the grants subcommittee who's like been in the grants subcommittee, and like I'm just like, yeah, I there are like definitely a lot of people that I never talked to about the grants, and I should have just like reached out. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, you're that's like my biggest thing too. I'm just like, yeah, like it needs to be more diverse, more inclusive, you know. But like that's like I feel like there's methods to like do that without like just being like we want to be more diverse. You know what I mean? Like it's like yeah, duh. Like, but there's just I don't know. I think certain things would just like add that, you know, and like legitimize what we're doing, I think.
I mean, in some ways, it kind of is based on the diversity of this commission. And
Yeah.
people go out either into their individual communities or, you know, into their friend groups and whatever. And so making sure that we have a diverse group here, I think, is the first step to that. And I'm even talking about locations. You know, we talk about we can't seem to get into these like East Side neighborhoods or, you know, whatever with the
Yep.
neighborhood grants and that kind of thing, age. All sorts of things that I think starts right here, like you say.
Yeah.
Diversity of networks.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Does the city have a list of neighborhood organizations?
They do.
Yes, yeah, and we have specifically in the Housing and Neighborhood Development Department, someone who works specifically with neighborhood associations. Yeah. And she would just be able to.
If I could jump in for a sec.
Yay.
First of all, I agree a lot with what Paul is saying, a lot, all 3 points. On the neighborhood thing, as someone who's on the east side, first of all, the goat farm thing is terrific. That public art, but that's pretty much what we have here, and that's it. And I wonder how much of that and how much we can learn about the lack of infiltration into these areas might be due to, you know, high rents or, you know, restrictions on zoning or something like that, so that we have a better sense of what those obstacles might be. Because the areas that he's referencing along the B line, for example, are in these areas that you know 20 years ago didn't really exist. So they're sort of a development area. So I think maybe the restrictions are looser there, so that might be part of the issue. But it would be really good for us to have a clearer sense of these differences among the neighborhoods and the areas. There's something else I was gonna say, but I forgot, so if I think of it, I'll type a note.
Well, along Suzanne's point, I've thought about this, and I think one thing that we can't do anything about is that there are neighborhoods that don't have very much public space. You know, I think the newer neighborhoods and the downtown areas are being built with that in mind, but some of the older neighborhoods don't have that, and so I guess we're gonna have to get creative in thinking about how we overcome that. How you have art, public art if you don't have public space, for example.
On the diversity and outreach front, I like, you know, as a person of color, I speak Spanish and would love to translate any of BAC materials if that's helpful,
See,
like
that's a great
grants
idea.
or
Absolutely.
like art calls.
thank you.
Would love to do that for y'all. I like sometimes I forget that I have that in my. I don't get to use the Spanish as often, but like if I can do that, would love to help with that. That might be a way to do something.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no worries.
I think focusing on economic diversity would be really cool.
And do we, I know this is in progress, but do we like have a map of where public art is?
Oh, that's like
It's like it exists. We're just fine tuning it with the help of this amazing SPIA intern. But yeah, it's gonna happen actually.
Because that might help us potentially target
Yes.
zones
Yeah.
that
When
if
that-
there is public space.
There's like a Google Maps like direct, like you can like
Yeah.
you can like click a link in like Google Maps, but that's like old.
It's
like
old.
it's
Super
It is in
old,
like
but we're-
2007.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's like
Yeah.
there's
That's
quite a
what
bit on it, but
we're-
it's like it's definitely needs to be like
That's what we're working on
updated or whatever.
upgrading now, and that is one of the purposes of it,
Uh-huh.
is to be like, where is public art not?
And where could it be?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
But that will, I mean,
That's
I'm really
gonna-
working on it,
yeah.
and there's emails, and so it's like a work in progress version, but it actually will be a thing.
And now you're almost full-time.
I know.
Whoops.
No, yeah, we're trying to, I think, you know, looking at the spreadsheet, I think you and you are referencing, there are like several hundred entries on this thing. And so trying to look at the whole thing and say, okay, how do we like bring this up to current times all at once is an incredibly overwhelming task. So we've got this brilliant intern, like Chaz says, and we're just taking it baby steps, just so it doesn't become so overwhelming for us that we just collapse under its weight.
Well,
So,
and I'll say why it's taking so long too, in addition to that, is like getting good photos of each thing. Because it's going to have
Mm.
so just so you know too, what's also taking longer to elaborate on that, it's an internal kind of usage to see where is public art missing, but it's also could be used for like public art tours or anyone from the community to see what's out there. So we want the photos to be really good. We want it to have all the necessary information. So that just takes a long time because there's a shitload of
There could even be
public art.
self-guided tours.
Yeah,
Yes,
and that's all
that's-
like down the thing, but we have to
definitely.
get all that data, so
Yeah.
it's really a lot of metadata collection and photo collection and picking the right photos, and finally we have someone in the last couple months to actually do it, because that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Because it goes
So-
back that far,
Mhm.
or that's where it stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they still exist?
That's part
Yeah,
of
some-
this
yeah.
process
So,
of
I
like,
mean,
we're
maybe
gonna
you
have
can,
to
like,
go out.
Parcel out some addresses and we
Yeah.
can go drive
I
around and say
mean,
there's nothing there.
I will say we've, if that is something you all are willing to explore, I would love to do that in the past, like, we've talked about that a lot, and it's never
Well,
really
it just takes,
happened.
half a Saturday or
Yeah.
something, you know?
It's
Yeah.
organizing it that's
There's
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
But-
also like maintenance, and there's also like the traffic, those little boxes, and, like those
Yeah,
need to be
which are
redone.
full of
There's like a lot of,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so that some of it's like gonna be outdated or it needs to be redone anyway, so that's
Yeah.
also a
Definitely
awkward
need some
part of it.
upgrades.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's something we'll do this year.
Well,
But I think having a photographer.
I'm happy to drive
too is
around
nice.
in a day if I have a list, so.
Okay.
What does it, do we ever like have focus areas? Like, I noticed the north side of the square and the west side could use some public art. to kind of breathe some life into those areas and those businesses over there. But I don't know if it's ever, let's focus on, like a 6-block area, what can we do there?
Well,
I don't
And then
wanna-
get the public art grants
Yeah.
to like, here, we want grant money, we want to give you grant money, but here's kind of what we want you to do.
Mhm.
Like paint all the telephone poles.
Yeah. I don't want to try
Is
to
that a
answer
thing?
that question, because I think for us, right, well, I'm going to give you a short answer and then I'm going to stop, because I do think this is worth exploring and I don't want to like take away from the brainstorming aspect of this. I want to listen, but I do think I would like to move towards saying, like, having like a more strategic plan for how we're like addressing, again, where we're doing public art on an
Areas.
annual basis. I think that up to this point in time, we just haven't had the bandwidth to do that.
Yeah.
And I think it's also just doing one public art call, the amount of time it took us just to do Hopewell
Yeah.
is time consuming. And
Yeah.
so I think with Chaz more on board with this, and we also have Christina helping with this, I think we'll be able to expand our capacity to do more projects like that in the future. But
More
I
focus,
do think
yeah.
it's a lot of work, and it's not just a
Yeah.
lot of work for us. When we do these things, it's always a negotiation with our legal department, because we're at the whims of
Yeah.
their schedule for whether they get things out. It's also a negotiation with some folks in our controller's office who don't believe artists should be paid to simply put together a proposal. So it's like, so we also have to be mindful of how much we're in business. Like, we'll do as much as we can, but it's like, how much can we ask folks in other departments respectfully to do on our behalf
Right.
on an
Yeah.
annual basis? But I think this is a great idea that we should continue to talk
Mhm.
about. Yeah.
Well, and as you're talking about, I think the other obstacle would be businesses or space for it. So
Mhm.
it's not like a city building or a city public space. Also, like getting permission from businesses on where it could go. So if you're wanting a mural inside of someone's building, the landlord, you have to convince them too. So it's like, that's another thing to be thinking about with that. Sometimes it's literally because someone just doesn't want it, So I think that's another obstacle that you have to think about as well, and how you
Yeah.
make that work.
I was kind of thinking about like parts of town that are looking a little dismal that could use some help.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah, all of it,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, but again, I feel like for right now, it's just, a question of how much can we do in one
Right.
year. And also, but I do think, and this is something we can think about in the Public Art Subcommittee, this is one of the
Yeah.
reasons why we created the grant cycle
Yeah.
within the Public Art Subcommittee, was so they could do this work on their own, like businesses could do their work on their own. I want to say 2 more things. Number 1, I have an immaculate wall I want to put a mural on right now. The business owner wants to charge me rent to use it. So that's the kind of thing that we're dealing with. Also, anti-graffiti paint is a thing.
Oh.
Taking it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taking it off. Yeah.
Oops.
On a slightly different topic, if that's okay, could we come up with a proposal to keep the thorn in the side of the city of 1% for other, let's say, structures over 2 million that are publicly accessible, or whatever that benchmark is, so that when there's another housing complex going up, the developer is forced. And so, when I listen to some of the city council meetings, it goes through whatever the board is that says you have to have X number of feet
Zoning.
of green and pathways. Well, now 1% of art. It's not unreasonable because other
Nope,
cities
it's not.
do it.
Oh, I know.
And it's
Yeah.
not only city
I think
buildings.
we've done it on certain occasions, but it's just like
It's
individual occasions. Yeah.
all here for it. I have an anecdote I will share after the meeting with you.
I didn't mean to stop the conversation.
What I'd love to see is some of that space that's underneath some of those apartment buildings being used, the empty space.
Oh my God.
It's
Yeah.
outrageous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
It's ridiculous.
terrible.
They're obliged to have it.
Yeah.
I know, but obviously the city can't support it, people
Yeah.
can't afford it.
Yeah.
So it's to me, that,
Such a
it's
flex.
a blight, you know?
Look at all this
It's-
empty space that we don't need to collect
It's a
on.
blight and it's just a big tax write-off for
I
those
know.
businesses,
Yeah,
because it's
exactly.
loss of
Yeah.
rent, so it balances out their income.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's good for them, not good for anyone else.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And there's a couple of agents in town that just are charging way too much.
Yeah,
And
for
it's not good for Bloomington.
So I've listened to the conversation, it's focused on public art. I just wonder if there are other thoughts that people have about diversity of artists and art groups and kinds of art, or not.
And I will say, as you're saying that, I looked at the ordinance for the BAC. Grants aren't as explicitly listed, but public art actually is one of the main things. Just so you know, not saying that takes away, but just as you are thinking about this, it does make sense to attribute some time to that because it is literally in the ordinance, talking about public art strategic plan. So, just wanted to say that, but now, diversity in artists. I will also say I'm not, obviously I'm one of the staff liaisons with Holly, but it has improved a lot. We've gotten a lot more people. Doesn't mean it has to stop, but I will say, echoing what Nia said, she's very right. What I've done for the diversity in arts across all measures is I've literally gone, and I've kind of stopped this a little lately because I've been burnt out, but yeah, new year fresh. I've literally gone and been like a lunatic and just introduced myself to random artists. I go to like artisan fairs that I hear about. I go to art events. That's why I have the artist parties. I think to me, also what you're saying is I look at it as like being an ambassador of art for the city. And so I think it is a lot of that elbow grace, as Nia was saying. That's what I call it, where it's just that hard work of like literally going to places and talking to people. And I give them my card. I say, you know what I should make? I should give you all little cards that say like sign up for the Bloomington newsletter. So you can just give it to people.
Oh, I love, yes, please.
Yeah, and like so you could just
Oh my
give that to
God.
people.
I'll give that to everyone.
Because I think the newsletters are really important to be a
Yeah.
part of because that helps get people together. We're going to eventually have a website too. There's all these things that will kind of more cohesively make it more diverse just by default if we're doing that work, as you were saying, Nia. So I think I've had a lot of success in that. So I do think it is, a lot of it is you guys going out as like ambassadors and meeting people and telling people about the things rather than talking to Angela who does the neighborhoods groups is one thing. You can always tell them that I'm on my neighborhood listserv, and doesn't make people go to things. What makes people go to things is me being like, hello, come to
Right.
this thing. We're actually cool. Trust me, it's great. Like getting to know people and making those connections have been the best way. So it sounds entirely so simple and to say that, and that's the easy magic to it. I think is one of the things is just literally you all going to events and telling people I'll make you cards that say like sign up for the newsletter, read about the BAC, I'll do whatever on my little Canva,
Yeah, a
I'll
little
design
QR
it.
code or something.
Yeah, QR code, and I'll make you that, and like you could pass it out to people. I think, or yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
That has been really successful for
People
me.
ask me about the newsletter actually, because they're like, "Oh, you know about this arts newsletter?" I'm like,
Mhm.
"Yes, actually.
Yes.
I will forward it to you."
Yeah, so that has been really helpful, and I have been going to BAC meetings since 2016 as a member of the public, and I will say we do have a lot more diversity in lots of ways with our grants because of that. Not to toot my own horn, but Holly knows we've worked really, really hard on that. That was something when I started this job here I really cared about because I felt like we were really missing a lot of people, and I think we still are.
Yeah.
For sure, the work never ends, but that's like actual
Compared to before, like.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and we've had a lot of first time people apply, they didn't even know about the BAC honestly, or they didn't know what the BAC did. I think we have some like new people who applied to be commissioners that didn't, it's great. So it is happening, so I wouldn't discount that we're not doing that. I do think, yes, though, it's always a thing and we're trying, and that's probably my best solution is to think of you all as more ambassadors who can connect with people with that human connection. Bringing them to us is probably the best way.
Right,
Because we
once
can
they're
do all the
informed, yeah.
marketing we want, we can do all the newsletters, whatever, and it just is not going to matter as much as that personal connection.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of work for everyone. Trust me, I know I have to take breaks from it. But
Yeah,
I talk
and
to
just
so
like
many strangers.
balancing like I want to share the grant with everyone, but I don't want to spend like 10 hours on grants. I'm like, but I don't know. That's selfish of me. I should just be like, yes, I want to read all your stinking grants, like please, or like at least half of them, because that's, you know.
Yeah, but I can't say it enough. I think that's the biggest part to me that I've seen the most results in, is it's as simple as that. But I'm gonna write down that I'm gonna make you all little cards.
Yes, I would love that.
If I may, Holly's point earlier about same number of grants, same number of applicants, but more money per grant is going to increase diversity as well. And that seems to me to be the primary reason to try and achieve that, what she suggested. Because to a lot of people, the amount of money just isn't going to make enough of a difference, given all their other pressures and their other financial concerns. So I think that is put your money where your mouth is. That's exactly the right idea. I'm really happy to have heard Holly say that earlier on.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great point.
Yeah.
Love that.
On a positive note, I really enjoyed our artist party. I don't know if we've met since then. I don't think we have. And you know, there were folks in there that I knew years ago, dancers, Iris Rosa and her folks. And
Are you talking about the one at Bonfet?
yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
I thought it was a really engaging evening, and you know, I took it to heart to go around and say, "Are you a winner? And what do you do?"
I try to make them write it on their name tag.
Yeah, and I just found it a very enthusiastic group of, well, I wouldn't say young, but younger and older. And there was some obvious diversity in the room. So I think that's a good, you know, that was a good start, you know.
Good music.
So thank you for that party. I thought it was really good.
Those are always the best ones, of the celebrating the grant recipients. I like that one the most because they like to be celebrated, and it's really nice to see who we've actually given grants to and for them to show up and be thanked. I'll also say with that, I lost my thought too. But,
It's a big sense of pride for people to be recognized.
Yeah, it's good.
Super
And
cool,
that's
and
what I
their
want.
friends and their family and.
Well, and that's what I want the artist parties to be, is that. Oh, I was gonna say, having that makes them more ambassadors for the BAC, because then they pass along to people as well. I think also, Paul, I'm thinking too about what you're saying, and I'm like wondering if, as being ambassadors, and like if you all, I'm saying this as the person who is not on the BAC, right, staff liaison, but if you, I think data, like Suzanne said, I'm wondering if we could get one of our interns to like figure out data points or something, but I am wondering if there's a certain group of people that you think are being missed, if there's like if you think nursing homes, like, I don't know, going to nursing homes and being like, you guys, let's get you involved in art somehow, or whatever. I think it's like literally picking places and trying to, if you do everything, I think maybe if you all as ambassadors could kind of pick places where you could go and say, I'm going to go to this meeting every month to make connections. You know, like I go to Natalie's on the gallery walk meetings, but because she's like the president, but I mean, I go there too, and it's like good because I can tell them about what's going on with the city or the BAC is doing. Natalie would do that anyway, but she's also president of the gallery walk, so she has to do other things. But you know, like I think it's also picking like someone could go to that from the BAC and like try to go to all the monthly meetings or something like that. That might be a good step in the right direction as well. An easy thing to do.
Do we ever get name tags to wear places so people can come know who we are and
Are
come
any
up and talk to
neighbors?
us?
Like 2 years ago we did.
Yeah.
Is
Are
that
any
little
names?
place by
Look
Boomerang
into it.
that makes really good
Yeah,
magnetic
we can
name tag?
I feel like I've seen
Yeah, it
other
would be
commissioners
cheap.
have it.
Yeah.
We got $18,000. You
Yeah.
know?
Well,
I won't mind a light up.
It'd be cool. People might approach us then, you know what I mean, and
Yeah.
with their ideas, or I don't know.
I think I've
some
seen
of us
other
don't
commissioners
have
have
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're kind of, I don't know, I think we could
We could
do
refresh
something a
them,
little
obviously.
more, yeah. And I feel like also
Yeah,
that
Lane would be.
the person who did those
Yeah.
for us just, they're not like a vendor that we can
Yeah.
continue to go back to every time we have a new member, right? But I think
Yeah.
that's a
Well,
great idea.
I think the
yeah.
skinny ones we could get, but if you wanted
Yeah.
to do different ones that aren't lame like the city ones. 'Cause
Yeah,
I think
well,
I see the commissioners.
yeah, I mean,
have-
ours are, I mean, I think it's just a question of like what we can do and what the city would like us to do, like when it comes to branding, you know, but that's an easy
Right.
solution, so, yeah.
That little place on the Beeline, the sign shop by Boomerang, or behind Blooming Foods, I have them make name tags for me,
Oh,
for
yeah,
my
Stamping
people.
Engraving Center, yeah,
Yeah.
I like them.
I think to
There we
Paul's
go.
point
Engraving
about
center.
like engaging more children or like all ages, I would be not to be like, Chaz, you should do this, because I would be happy to help if you wanted to do something like this. But I would be interested to see an artist party that's geared at like younger,
Oh,
like even
fun.
like I don't know, kids,
Yeah.
teens, high schoolers.
Might be a different.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
different
Different
type of
thing.
party, you know, no alcohol, that kind of thing. But it might be fun to see, well, maybe alcohol, but just not for the kids. Maybe fun to see something, us engage in that way, or like invite other partners in that way. I think, I mean, I don't know if we're talking about the second point on here too, but the presenters to consider if we have more, like, groups come in. I know like Girls Rock would love to come in, or something like that. Other groups that are working with kids and seeing how we can really help advocate for that. I know that the grants and the way that we restructured the grants was really helpful, specifically for someone like a Girls Rock, where the budget wasn't big enough to make it worth it to apply for previous things. But then once it was a little lowered, it was like we felt a lot more comfortable doing that. So I know that I want to say thank you for that kind of stuff on that front. But if there is other ways to think about.
And then there's the other end of the spectrum, which is emerging artists don't necessarily all need to be under 30-something.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
And I was just thinking, there's a new little shop down behind Jay Walters, somewhere in there, where...
Oh, the reuse.
Oh, Art
Where-
Remains.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know Marie donated buckets of button
They're great.
stuff to it.
Yeah.
Well, that's also a place that, you know, is there a quilting guild? Is there, you know, I
Yeah,
don't,
there are. There
you
are
know.
guilds.
Yeah, I mean, on all that outreach too, the grants, the data we get, the unofficial kind of uncompiled data we get from all the applications is really helpful to see what kinds of artistic communities there are in Bloomington, what the needs are in Bloomington. Continuing to capture that data in more formal ways, I think would be a great next step for grants. We joke about this all the time, but there was one year when like 8 people wanted money to buy a kiln. And it was like, okay, we obviously need a ceramics kiln in this town, you know, because we're not going to buy 8 of them. So little things like that emerge in the grant reading process that I think could be systematically captured.
Good, yeah.
Cool.
Also, I want to say, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna comment on Natalie's point about the kids' party. I think that's fabulous. And I would wonder about how far we could reach out, because some people have transportation issues to get places, et cetera. So you don't want to skew it that way, but I think that's a great idea. I had been advocating for connections with the high school age kids, and I'd say I tried and it fell flat because I got no response. I wrote to the art teachers,
Yeah.
one of whom worked with Michelle, our kid, who's no longer in high school but is a very recent graduate, and I just got like dead silence. But I mean, who knows what was going on at the time, but I would like to try that again. Or if anybody on the commission has kids in high school, just the level of talent just blew me away when I went to some of these art shows. And then you know, the kids just sort of dissipate and they don't stick around in Bloomington, et cetera. So I think a little kids party, maybe a high school thing, I don't know.
I think it's true that the art teachers are overwhelmed
Yeah.
and they really do not have time to deal with anybody approaching them, because I mean, I can understand it. It's like when you know, all these helpful people are gonna help them.
Yeah, all these non-experts are gonna be the
Poor teachers, you know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know, there's gotta be a better way in, you know, I think maybe through the organizations, like you were talking about.
And I think those locations too, like having it at like a at like a Banneker Center or at something like that would open us
Oh,
up to
yes.
different, I mean, well, that's still pretty close to the square, but.
Well, I want to say I would not call it an artist party because artist parties are going to be the artist parties. I would say you guys could have your own kid education events that I would be happy to invite people to and help you with that. Like, you don't, because the artist parties, that's the same thing I go with artist parties. I have everyone be like, what about this for an artist party? Can I be in that? I can only do like maybe 6 a year. So that being said, not poo-pooing it, I wouldn't think of them as artist parties. I would think of them as maybe the BAC could create an event that focuses twice a year, one for the high schoolers, one for younger kids. And yeah, having it at the Boys and Girls Club. I know the Boys and Girls Club is always looking, sometimes they get grants, I don't know, especially for younger kids. I don't know, I would just say like, you guys can do your own stuff too, that I don't have to do, because the artist parties are probably gonna stay what they are, just to be honest.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it makes sense to engage more of the students just maybe in a different way, and I'm happy to help with that.
I think that branding is like a pretty interesting way to get kids involved, or get younger people involved. Sorry, Jordan.
No, it's fine. I'm gonna, what was up there?
Oh, no, just like, I think that I know that you've got the brand of the artist party, but thinking about like, because I think there's a lot of events that are like, oh, it's just a fair of like different organizations, you know, but like
artist party for kids, but you all can do it.
That's
you
fine.
Just use the name.
Totally
but
fair.
yeah, I think that I like those ideas. You could say it's artist party for kids or for high schoolers or something that can be thought about. But I just would say like taking it out of the equation a little bit with it.
I get it.
You guys run with it, just to be
Loaded.
completely
I think
Yeah.
we got that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. This has been a really substantive
Yeah.
discussion. We got 10 minutes left of the meeting, so I'm gonna cap it there. If any other thoughts or ideas, or further like detailing of these ideas come to mind, feel free to email the group, email me, however you feel like sharing it. That's fine, but this has been really great, and I think I've noted this at previous meetings. We are going into a year where our current strategic plan is expiring. I think we're going to look to maybe, I don't know if we're going to like rehash a full strategic plan, but I think some strategic goals, and I think this is going to be a really great start to that. So moving on to agenda item number 7, the upcoming events and important dates. Thanks to whomever, I'm guessing Holly or Chaz, sort of updated the doc there for the new year. We got a couple of things on there.
Zoom in.
I'm so sorry, yes, of course.
What's Julie's last name?
Schenkelberg?
Schenkelberg?
Great, thank you.
Okay, oh, you got it up there. Okay, it wasn't
Turn
there
on.
earlier.
Mhm.
Beautiful, love it. Okay. Anyone have any quick additions for, say, January, February for this list that you want folks to be aware of? No? Cool. Well, as they come to mind, feel free, again, this doc lives in all the midpoint emails that get sent out or on the agendas. There's a live link there. You're more than welcome to add things to it or send them to me, and I can throw them up there as well. Okay, commissioner announcements, agenda item number 8. I'm gonna kick this off here and give a heartfelt goodbye and thank you to Karen.
Well, I'm just gonna miss everybody. It's kind of weird, it's kind of nostalgic. I can't believe it's been 6 years. I don't know what happened.
Yeah,
And yet, when
what did happen
I was
exactly?
thinking back on it, and we really have made a lot of progress. Thinking about how the grants have been reformulated, the RFQs. We were working on a strategic plan. We were doing a lot of things when I first came that have really been helpful, but I think that I see a lot of progress. I'm really proud of all of us. It's been great working with you. I'm going to miss you. I might come back as an artist for the grants people, so you may see me again. Now that I don't have excuses not to paint as much as I should be painting, but and projects. But it's been a great experience for me. I hope somebody enjoys being the secretary and taking the minutes like I did. It was really kind of fun to relive the meetings every you know, think about, oh, I missed that, you know, at the moment. Now I get it. So thanks, everybody. Hope to see you around.
This is a little something from the commission.
Oh, what's this? Oh, thank you, thank you. Who did the artwork?
All right, any other announcements from the group?
January does tend to be kind of slow. In terms of events.
Sure.
Yeah, for-
Yep.
Yeah.
That's great.
Oh, can I
A
plug
card.
the-
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know it's
Oh, there
on
you
that
go, there you
form.
go.
Whoa. Oh, thank you. Really, thank you. This is great.
Yeah.
I know it's on the form or on the upcoming events, but yeah, today I spent most of the day loading a piece out of the studio space secretly over into the Grunwald. It's a huge installation by the Cook Center's Artist in Residence, Julie Schenkelberg, that's opening next Friday, the 17th, 5 to 8 p.m. 5 to 6 is the lecture in Fine Arts 15. It's that big lecture room in there, and then 6 to 8 is the opening. It's going to be really cool, and Julie, I'm sure, has met a lot of you, but has been an incredible artist in residence. But a lot of the pieces are really site-specific to Bloomington, so she took some casts from in the community and on campus, and it's just a piece that you can like walk into and really have a kind of spiritual experience with, I'd say. Gerard got to see it. I think he can vouch for that. It was pretty cool. So would love to see you all there. I will also, you're all on my invite list, so you'll be getting one between now and Monday. So look out for that too.
Is there gonna be anything else or just the 17th?
I think that's the main day. They'll
Okay.
probably have we might do some other programming. It comes down in March 8th, I believe, is the closing. So yeah, but this is the main one that we're gearing up towards. So I'd love to see you all there. That's my only announcement.
24th, I'm having a rent party at my house, if any of y'all want to come. And I'm going to be making drinks and stuff, so it's going to be fun.
Nice. Any other announcements or plugs from the commission?
Oh, I do want to say, Christina and I are working on workshops, and one of them, I think that will be in February, will be about, it's for people to go to it to see how they can better practice DEIA in their work or in their organization. So I just wanted to say that. It's with Andrea M. Sterling, who is amazing. She's going to be leading that and just trying to get people to actually think about what does that mean? How can you actually do it in your art practice or in your art organization? So if anyone wants to, you guys will be notified about that when it is exactly, but that might be a good thing for you guys to go to. So be on the lookout for our workshop dates. We're going to try to get those out sooner this year. We can do it, but anyway, that should be kind of interesting. We might, and if you guys go, we might all learn some tips on how to be better.
Be better. Just be better.
Yeah,
Be
be
better.
better.
Okay, moving on to public comment. I believe we have enough time for a 2-minute public comment. We don't have anyone here. Do we have anyone online?
Yeah, if anyone online would like to unmute and introduce themselves, that would be great. Oh, it looks like audio cut out.
Hi, hello.
Oh, hello.
Can everyone?
Yeah, can you hear us again?
hold on. I can hear you guys. Yeah, it cuts out from time to time. The reception's not good. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
It's me, Kira. Happy 2025. I just had a quick question. I know that we're wrapping it up. I came in a little late, so I just didn't know how much we got this year and when is the spending deadline, and then for you guys to give out the grants, and then how many grants are actually available for the general public from the Arts Council this year. So just some just brass tacks questions.
I can answer that really quickly. Hi, I'm Holly. I'm one of 2 staff liaisons between the city and the Arts Commission. So we were allocated roughly $180,000 for public art grants, but also for our 3 other primary art grant cycles of the year, which is arts projects, operations, and artistic advancement grants. So in 2 to 3 weeks, we will be releasing a press release, and we'll be putting things on our webpage, and Chaz will also send out a newsletter that details the qualifications and criteria for each of those cycles. And we'll also include in our criteria about how much money we're anticipating awarding for each of those cycles. So it's kind of, we kind of do a reassessment at the beginning of every year, just based on some trends we saw the following year. So we're still judging that out, but that will be public very soon. I'm anticipating that the first arts grant cycle of the year will open in mid-February.
Okay. And then, okay, so that'll have like the numbers of how many grants are
Correct.
available.
Yes.
Okay. And then the deadline for when you have to spend all of the money that you got, is your calendar year?
Yeah, it's we go for the fiscal year, so I have this money to spend up until between, like, it's usually a few days before the 31st, just because of all the processes that the controllers has to go to close their books for the year. But you'll see when we release the grant cycle announcements, there is a deadline for each grant cycle.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
I'm putting the link for the newsletter in the Zoom chat.
Thank you. Perfect.
All
I
right.
did want to make one quick comment. I know I had like 10 minutes, but I just wanted to say this. I put it in the
I
chat.
said, oh, sorry.
But y'all, it's 2020. I love you guys so much, but it's 2025, and everything that you guys are doing is wonderful, but I see that there needs to be an integration of social media and just like technology overall, and it's probably something that you guys maybe have felt yourselves. And it's something that I know that sometimes you guys are held back just from like the red tape of being in government and city council, but I feel like there's a huge disparity there, and if you guys were able to like fill the gap with social media influencers, and so maybe even, and when developing that reach out team, there should be some type of outreach towards people in the city who actually have some type of presence on social media, who are artists, who can help promote. So there needs to be some type of like crossover there, and I think that would help tremendously.
Yeah, it would take some of the work off us, certainly, to do that.
Yeah,
outreach.
you see this in other states. They're already
Yeah.
doing this really well, like in New York and stuff like that. There's no reason why we can't do it here. And I do social media influencing, so this is coming from that point of view. Yeah. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for attending. Thanks for your comments. Any other notes or comments from anyone? All right, well, I'm going to motion to adjourn the meeting. Can I get a second? All right, the meeting is adjourned. Thanks all.
Thank you.